And thank you for tuning in. It is Friday, June the 22nd, 2018. Welcome to the Press Release, of course, and I'm your hostess, Portia Bright. Now, tonight, I have a very special guest with me, Judge Mario Perez, who is the first Hispanic judge in Pitt County and the first Mexican American judge in North Carolina. Now, Judge Perez, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Now, for our listeners, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I was born in South Texas in a place called Roma, and I lived and grew up pretty much in San Antonio, Texas, until I left right after college, and I went to law school at Georgetown University Law Center. Graduated there in 1984. Upon graduation, I worked for my congressman. I worked for the Department of Justice, and I came to Pitt County in 1989, where I've been ever since.
Wow, that's kind of like what 4 years after I was born, pretty much.
Yes, I'm 59. I'm 59 years old, Portia.
Wow, well, that's awesome. Now, of course, I'll have some great questions for you tonight. You know, over the past few years, we've been seeing some troubling pieces of legislation coming out of North Carolina General Assembly. Now, undoubtedly, there is a power struggle happening. And specifically tonight, we're going to talk about the Judicial Vacancy Sunshine Amendment, right? And I'm pretty sure you've heard about that.
Yes.
Now, for those who don't know, Senate Bill 814 is set to amend the North Carolina Constitution to change how judicial vacancies will be filled. And currently, when a judge leaves office, just like Governor Cooper did he actually appoints a replacement to serve until the voters can fill the seat in the next election. But Senate Bill 814 authorizes legislators to pick the judges. My question to you is, how do you think, from your perspective, how will this affect the separation of powers going forward?
Well, traditionally in North Carolina, judges have been elected in their districts, and that's been going on for a long time. I have no idea how long, but judges are elected. And as you said, Portia, when there's a vacancy in a position, the governor, with the advice, if you will, of the local bar, appoints the judge to fill the vacancy until, as you said, there's an election. And that's been the process for as long as I can remember, and probably for a very long time. The changes that are trying to be made now would take away that power from the governor, and it would put the power to appoint in some committee that's going to be created by the legislature. And as you know, the current legislature is Republican. So if they were to be able to do it, they would have a committee that would be looking toward appointing Republican judges.
Right, and that actual committee is the Merit Commission.
Yes.
All right, so my next question for you is, being that we have this taking place and the Republicans choosing what judges they want to put on in the judicial system, what do you believe are some of the causes of high mass incarceration of people of color?
Well, I think, and I've been practicing law for 29 years. I've represented people in the criminal system, in the civil system, with personal injury claims, workers' comp claims, employment discrimination claims. But in the criminal system, I believe probably one of the major reasons we see incarcerations in the African American community, as well as the Hispanic community. First of all, I think you have poverty issues. Those are huge barriers. And I think poverty, and then you get, I believe, drugs and mental health also cause a lot of issues that result in incarceration.
Right. Now, you just actually got appointed in May, right?
I was appointed by Governor Cooper on March 28th, and I had to close my practice down, and so I got sworn in on May 18th.
Okay, great. So what kind of cases are you presiding over right now?
Well, district court, as you know, district court has jurisdiction on pretty much a large variety of cases. If you look at the criminal cases, all the misdemeanors and some low-level felonies, but most of the misdemeanors. If you look at the civil side, that's where it gets interesting. You have family law, which is divorce, custody, visitation, distribution of property. You have juvenile court, which is very unique, where you're dealing with young adults who are in the criminal process, but you're not being punished. you're trying to be rehabilitated. You have domestic violence cases, you have truancy cases, then you have just general civil litigation, people for money disputes, people who are fighting over things, for money or for an injunction. You get a broad variety of cases in district court, criminal and civil. And I've been getting, since I've been on the bench for about over a month now, I'm seeing a lot of criminal, but I'm also beginning to see juvenile cases. I'm beginning to see some civil cases. I've seen domestic violence cases. So I'm getting and I'm used to those. I pretty much did all that when I was practicing law, but I'm getting a good flavor for seeing it on the bench.
Mm-hmm. Now, specifically for the juvenile cases, do you think there's more so of sending the juveniles to jail, or more so putting them into a setting where they can get counseling and some type of help to prevent recidivism?
I think the goal in district court in juvenile cases is to try to get resources to help the young adult with education, with substance abuse, with structure. I think that's the goal, and punishment's the last resort in a juvenile case. And what I am concerned about is with the age going up next year, you're going to see a lot more juveniles in the juvenile court system, and I'm worried about resources. We're going to have enough juvenile court counselors to handle it. We're going to have enough school resources to handle it. So as much as I am looking forward to helping young adults who are now going to be 16 and 17 versus just 15 and under, I worry about the resources. But I still believe in the goal, which is really to rehabilitate.
Right. Which brings me to my next question in terms of your vision for the future of the judicial system and what changes you would actually advocate for.
Well, I'm always, my number one, I would hope for any judge, the number one priority for me is I want to be fair, and I want to be respectful to the people in my courtroom. I think, as I said earlier tonight at a meeting, district court judges, we cannot change the law, but we can follow the law. We can't change the facts, but we can make sure all the facts are presented. And we can't eradicate injustice, but we can make sure there's justice in our courtroom. And I think that's what we want. That's my goal, is to have people realize that you have someone who's going to listen to you. And when I make my decision, whether they like it or not, I hope they can walk away and say, he heard me.
Right. Well, that's always important, because we always want to make sure the person who's going to be handing down the verdict actually hears us and really feels where we're coming from when we actually are in those particular areas. Now, although Governor Cooper actually appointed you to become district court judge, ultimately it's up to the voters to determine if you keep your position. Why should voters support you rather than your opponents?
Well, first of all, I'm probably going to have two opponents. I have a Democrat who's filed, and then probably the Republican's going to file next week. But I can tell you the voters of Pitt County should support me for one simple reason. If you compare me to my opponents, I am the most experienced of them by leaps and bounds. I have, as I said, 34 years of legal experience. I've been practicing law in Pitt County 29 years continuously. And I would say that the opponent I have right now has only been out of law school 6 years. And all he's ever done is criminal work as a prosecutor, pretty much. I've had a variety of cases. I've handled all the cases that I'm handling now as a judge, I've handled as an attorney over the last 29 years. And I think Pitt County voters will hopefully see that my experience makes me ready to decide cases, and also my life experiences give me the temperament to kind of have the wisdom to know how to do things in court and how to decide cases. So I think hands down, experience is the key to this race. Also the fact that when the governor appointed me, he asked the Pitt County Bar about me, and they voted 151 to 39. There was 190 votes cast. I got 151 votes from my peers, my colleagues, who said, Mario Perez is the guy we want to be our judge. And I think that counted for something, and it should count for something with the community and the voters of Pitt County.
Right. Now, of course, someone would look at that and say, hey, maybe Judge Perez had more clout when it came to the people who were actually voting. What would you say to that?
They had more what?
That they had more clout. Judge Mario Perez has more clout with the people who were actually voting, and it was unfair. What would you actually say for that particular rumor?
Well, first of all, the people who voted for me are people who knew me, and I had the same. The other fellow had the same opportunity to talk to people and ask for their vote at the bar. There was nothing magic about it. We all had the opportunity to reach out, to talk to people, to state our case. And I believe that my peers, the people who know me and who see me in court every day, who hear about me, decided that I'm the guy they wanted. I'm the judge they wanted on the bench. There was nothing to do with clout. It was basically, I believe, it was that they respected me, they knew me, they know what I'm about, and what I told a lot of them when I was meeting with them one on one is, um, I'm not asking for this position because I've earned it, because I'm entitled to it. It's because I've earned it. I've earned this position, and that's why I want to be your judge. And I think they agreed. It was a question of earning
Mhm.
it.
Right. So now you have to actually run a campaign. Is this going to be your first campaign you've actually ran?
It is, and it's scary.
I get that all the time. I've actually volunteered on a number of campaigns, and I hear the candidates say that all the time. But I think the most important thing that you should remember is that you have the experience, and with that experience, it comes confidence, and actually getting out there talking to the voters and letting them know that you're not just there for their vote, but you really care about their needs will actually take you a long way. So that's my bit of advice for you.
Well, it's good advice.
And
It's good advice. And I've
yes.
always been, I think, a people person. I wouldn't be practicing law in courtrooms and in front of juries, in front of judges, if I wasn't a people person. And so I look forward to talking to people. I look forward to telling them who
Mhm.
I am and why they should keep me as a district court judge. And I'm hopeful that, again, being in this community for 29 years, I would hope that I have developed some ties, some friendships, and people who
Mhm.
maybe know me who might be able to say, I know this Mario Perez, and he's the guy that really is ready to be your district court judge.
Ooh, okay. Now, Judge Perez, of course, we have you in your black robe and everything, but tell us, what does Judge Perez like to do for fun?
Good question. Well, I love to read. I'm a reader. I've been reading
Okay.
since I was in, fourth or fifth grade. I guess when I started reading, I love to read, and I love my other passion is playing golf. I'm not very good at it, but I
Okay.
like playing golf, and I love to read, and I work a lot. I think people will probably tell me, my friends and family, that aside from those things, I work, and I have a reputation, I think, for being someone who works a lot, which is good and it can be
Right.
bad too.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Now, where can people actually find you on social media, get involved with your campaign, any events that you have coming up?
Sure, I am. They can get on my. I have a Facebook page, Mario Perez for District Court Judge, and I'm getting now. Being 59 years old, I'm not the most technologically advanced person in the world, so I'm trying to get some help, expertise on setting up some other messaging platforms, social media platforms. So I'm working on that, and I'm working on doing some meet and greets, hopefully in July. So I'm going to start
Okay.
working on all that. Um, I need to get into the 21st century, like you. You are good at that.
Oh God. Well, that comes with, just experience, like actually just, just diving into it and just doing it. You can't be afraid of it, you just
Yeah.
gotta just do it. And that's what kind of person that I am. I don't care if it seems that if this is too hard for me, I'm just gonna do it. That's all I can do, right? Because if you never try, how do you know if you're gonna be able to accomplish it?
That's right, and I think you're if you're like me, then I think you are. You do it, and if you make a mistake, you learn from it. You do it a different way or do a better way by making a mistake.
Right. Now, one thing that I didn't hear you mention is the fact of fundraising. Are you raising any money, or are you
Yes,
okay?
yes. I'm as we speak, I'm talking to people. I have friends who are talking to people to get money, and I'm getting money as often as I can, as much as I can. As you know, Portia, running a campaign, it's not cheap. You've got to raise money, and you've got to have resources to get your message out, and that's what I'm working on.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's good. Now, if somebody was listening tonight and they wanted to send you a check, where could they send it to?
They could send it to my post office box, which is 1983 Greenville, and the zip code is 27835, and would be made payable to Mario Perez for District Court Judge.
All right, there you go. Well, thank you so much, Judge Perez, for actually sitting down with me tonight, and I'm pretty sure I'll see you around in the community.
We'll see you soon. I'm really happy that you had me on your show, all right?
Yes, sir. You're welcome.
We'll do it again.
Yeah, we will.
Okay, thank you. Have a good night, Portia.
Thank you. You too.
Bye. That's good.
All right, awesome. Folks, this is so great. We actually had Judge Perez on tonight talking about his run for his district court judge seat that he actually has secured. Governor Cooper has appointed him to that particular seat. But before I actually go, I want to let you know, of course, it wouldn't be news if I didn't tell you some news. So I want to let you know, this has been a big topic. House Bill 1092, which is to put photo ID in the Constitution. Now, House Bill 1092 amends the North Carolina Constitution to require every voter to show a photo ID. Now, the details are left to legislators to actually figure out later. And it's basically a blank check to the same legislative leaders who have passed racially discriminatory, gerrymandering, and voter suppression laws that the courts have found unconstitutional. Now, why is putting a photo ID requirement in the Constitution a bad idea? I'm pretty sure we can think of a host of ideas why that's bad. But let me just give you a few. We know that there are North Carolina citizens we know there are North Carolina citizens who do not have such an ID. They're typically among the youngest, oldest, and poorest citizens. Now, why should they not be allowed to vote? Which is an issue. Now, other states have done this, have found that the turnout has dropped. And so I'm thinking that Republicans see how, people of color are turning out to actually vote. And so that's pretty much scaring them. And this election cycle is so important. We know we have to flip seats during the 2018 election. So we need everybody who can vote to get out there and vote. And if you have not had the opportunity to register, this is the time to actually do so. So I want to encourage you to link up with a friend. You can contact the Board of Elections to find out all the information that you need to find out in terms of registering and so many other things. And you can always hit me up on Insta Message on my Facebook page, The Press Release with Portia Bright, and I'd be happy to provide you with the information that you need. And of course, thank you so much for listening tonight. I will be back the same time, same place next week. Well, next week I'm actually having my surgery, so I'm not sure if I'll be able to come back next week, but I'll make sure that I'm here next week, and I hope you will tune in as well. So thank you for tuning in.